People of Reddit who knew celebrities before they were famous, how different do they act now? I went to school with Rupert Grint, Ron Weasley from Harry Potter. I was into acting too, so we had done a few school plays together. He was really nice, very chill, a good laugh. I haven't seen him since school days, but he kept coming to classes whenever he wasn't filming, was always happy to chat about the movies. Sometimes he'd need a little break from so many people wanting to talk, and would come and hang out in the library, and honestly, you'd never know he was in the biggest film series at the time. Honestly, I think a lot of these answers boil down to if they want fame or not. Rupert loved what he was doing, but didn't care about being famous and having people kiss his ass. Just a nice normal kid. My mom used to ride the bus to work in downtown Cleveland with Steve Harvey's first wife. Apparently she supported him while he was trying to get his career started. And then basically as soon as he got successful he divorced her for a younger woman. My mom always hated him because she felt that he treated his first wife like shit and always yells bastard at the TV when he pops up. Edit. Thanks for the gold. I told my mom that the internet likes her and hates Steve Harvey, so you've made her day. I live in the town where Dolly Parton grew up, and practically everyone above the age of 50 who grew up here claims to either be a distant relative of Dolly's, or they claim to know her in some way. Everyone has their story of the time they met Dolly. It's pretty obvious, but regardless of who you talk to, Dolly has always been sweet and generous, but everything has simply grown exponentially due to her fame. Examples are the millions of books she gives out for free to children around the globe each month, or how she gave out $10,000 cash to many of my close friends after their houses burned in a fire a couple years back. Thousands of people are employed here and work for one of the businesses she owns, and it's a tad strange to see when you walk in, but the birthing center at the local hospital is funded by and named after her. I honestly can't think of one person I know who doesn't like her. Dolly's heart has only gotten bigger because of fame. My Phil worked for a high-end business in Southern California in the 80s and he ended up running straight into Dolly as he was rushing out a swinging door at the same time she was walking in. As he says, she chest bumped me from 5 feet out, but as he was apologizing profusely she cut him off and said, "It's okay darling, but next time you wanna get physical try buying me a drink first." Then she winked and started giggling as she went on her business, and him and his 2 co-workers who saw it happen have been smitten with her ever since. He met some other celebs working there, but goddamn, that's the one I'll always be jealous of. If anybody deserves to be America's sweetheart, it's Dolly. A close family friend was best friends with Tom Cruise before he got famous. I didn't believe her and she showed me pictures they have taken together, like a Vegas road trip, camping, etc. He was really awesome, but as soon as he got an ounce of fame it went to his head and he became very arrogant and a fame whore. I had a friend in high school whose cousin is Kendrick Lamar. He said Kendrick's pretty much still the same guy, acts the same around friends and family, just with millions of dollars now. My aunt was best friends with Madonna in high school, stayed friends until she got famous and she turned into a completely different person in the worst way possible. Bruno Mars's mom was a bartender at a local karaoke dive bar that I was a regular at. At the time, his biggest hit was The Hook for Billionaire by Travie McCoy. Anyway, she was selling tickets for an upcoming concert he was having and she asked our table if we wanted to buy some. My friend declined and she exclaimed, "Why not? He's my son." I ended up getting a couple of tickets despite not knowing any of Bruno Mars's songs. It turned out to be one of the best concerts I've ever been to. The guy knows how to put on a good live show. The tickets were only $40 each, I think. His opening act was a local group of large Polynesian men singing Motown who went by the name Nation 9. They were pretty good too. The next time he was in town for a concert, he had blown up and the tickets were going for $400. I would have loved to see him again, but not at that price. His mom was really nice, down to earth, and a pretty good singer herself. R.I.P. Bernie. At least she lived long enough to see her son's success. Went to middle school with Megan Fox for a bit. She rode my bus and she mostly kept to herself. Most of the guys would fight over who was going to sit next to her, but she was very shy and didn't really have much to say. I'm glad we're finally getting around to apologizing as a society for the way we treated her. She always seemed like a girl whose looks just entirely doomed her to never be taken seriously, even though she's actually pretty smart and really funny. Her new girl stint was phenomenal. She was either super sexualized or trailer trash here on Reddit, and learning more about how badly Hollywood treated her after she stood up to Michael Bay's insanity makes me so angry. She deserved better. I went to college with Joe Kiriakou Steve Harrington in Stranger Things. He was my college boyfriend's sweet mate and just the nicest guy. His hair has always been dreamy and amazing. Last time I saw him was at a viewing of The Hateful Eight after we graduated, and he still made a point to come over and say hi. Edit. Spelling. I know this is not what the question is asking. It's sort of the other way around. Have you met a famous person who is as nice as people say? But as it's about Tom Hanks, it has to be told. My cousin worked at illegal chambers in London, and they were told a film crew were coming in to use it for a few weeks. They were told don't engage with the actors, just go about your business. The film The Da Vinci Code, and, as per above spoilers, Tom Hanks was in it. For a day or three, they all did as they were told, kept their heads down, until eventually Tom Hanks came and knocked on their lunchroom door. Basically just said sus for messing up where you work, can I join you for lunch, and then it was on. Every day, breakfast and lunch, where time permitted, Tom Hanks was hanging out with these guys like he was a new employee. Reading the newspaper, making cups of tea, getting in the bacon rolls or whatever, calling people's family members to say hi, it's Tom Hanks for a laugh just to see this reaction. Basically, after a couple of weeks, was just like one of the team. Everyone on first name terms, just genuinely nice. Last day he made sure to say bye to everyone. He brought them all some kind of gift, I can't remember what, but it was really low-key, inexpensive, but personal, which was a nice touch. Just a really wholesome time for everyone. People say Tom Hanks is an absolute lad, and it transpires he is. My mom is friends with Johnny Knoxville's cousin. She met him once and had no idea who he was. She said he was nice and funny as all hell. She didn't realize until years later she'd even met him until I showed her one of his movies. From what I gather he's a normal dude and pretty hilarious. My mom dated Will Ferrell for a little while. He came round quite a lot and she said he was real down to earth and incredibly funny. However, afterwards they really just lost touch. So we never got to know how he personally changed. My mom says she's still like he used to be. My mom and dad still laugh about her dating him. I went to high school with Emma Chamberlain. She was a huge bully in high school and pretty much a brat who thought she could get away with whatever she wanted before she got famous. Her parents were divorced, which led to them both always trying to be her friend and never actually parenting her, so they basically let her do whatever she wanted. When she said that people from her high school made fun of her because she was poor and that the parking lot was all BMWs and Range Rovers, I lost my mind because she was a bully in high school. And while the school definitely had some wealthy students, it was mostly a middle class crowd. My brother used to play basketball with a bunch of people in high school. Among those who would sometimes join in was Pete Davidson. My brother said he got ripped on a ton and no one really liked him. But that might just be because he wasn't great at basketball. I met him last year while he was out with his friends. I didn't want to say anything till my mom rolled down the window and asked if I could get a picture. We were in the parking lot. He was on FaceTime with someone and he told them that he would call back later and he took a picture with me. Really nice guy. I knew Robert Pattinson about 15 years ago. Nice guy, friendly, a lot of fun to be with. He lived by himself in the center of Soho, London, in a tiny one-bed flat that I think he felt like the romantic vision of a starving artist, or at least wanted to. He had a weird side. He'd say random, violent, depraved things. He was obsessed with Jack Nicholson. He never really gave a duck. He had confidence and he was always himself, and he knew he could be deliberately contradictory and he used that as a personality trope. But he was a good guy. And I get the impression he's very comfortable with himself now that he has developed his career, that he acts very well, and that he can pick and choose his roles based upon what he wants to do and who he wants to work with. Twilight for him was always a means to an end, and I think he worked it very much to his benefit, and didn't compromise himself. I knew Cillian Murphy back in secondary school. We didn't go to the same school but mingled a lot. He was a few years older than me. Dude was super quiet, but really damn friendly. I remember when he was cast in 28 Days Later and people were pretty hyped for him, but a good few people didn't think much of it. Once it came out though, a lot of people changed their tune when they could see him actually act amazingly. My sister has a friend that's cousins with the Weeknd. From what my sister told me, he doesn't attend large family gatherings as much. Apparently some relatives only want to ask him questions in regards to his fame and whatnot. I'm not sure if that meant they ask him for favors, but it must get annoying either way. It must suck to be around family, and not be your regular old self. At the same time, it must be hard for his relatives to see him as the same guy before he got famous. I'm not saying that they shouldn't try, but people are naturally weird and awkward. It's just another shitty part about being famous, and I'm sure he's not the only celebrity that's gone through this. When my dad was in the army, he and some other army members were invited to the filming set of Saving Private Ryan. They were asked to show the actors how to hold guns and how to act like real soldiers. He told me that he met Steven Spielberg and Tom Hanks during his time there. He said that both of them seemed like nice people, but said that Tom Hanks in particular was incredibly down to earth, genuine and has a great sense of humor. I know this is after he became famous, but it's nice to know fame didn't turn him into something negative. I went to middle school with Justin Bieber, even played on the school soccer team together. I always thought he was a big dig, really stuck up and self-centered. But for the longest time I legitimately thought his name was Justin Bieber, and I would call him that every time I talked to him, and I always wondered why he got too angry. So maybe he was only a big dig to me. Nobody ever believes me when I tell this story, but when I was 15, I met Ariana Grande on Facebook. I was into flirting with random people back then, lol. We talked for a while, shared some jokes and rage comics. After about 2 months of occasional conversations, she made an update on her wall saying that she signed a contract with Nickelodeon, and then I saw her on Victorious. I was dumbstruck when it happened. A teacher of mine went to high school with Ryan Reynolds. He didn't talk much about their relationship in class, but about 2 years ago, this teacher was among the 50 people Ryan Reynolds followed on Instagram. I know, Instagram bad, so I assume that they're still good friends. Chris Pratt grew up and went to school about 10-15 minutes away from me. I've heard countless stories of him pulling his big dig out on the bus and known people who made out with him back in the day. He was a real goober from the few people I've heard talk about him. Though like many in my area, he definitely leans toward the ultra-conservative side and puts on quite a bit of a Hollywood act. Jennifer Lawrence. I moved to Louisville middle of 7th grade year. She was my first friend, and the first person I had a sleepover with. We hit it off. She was very different from me, a cheerleader, came from a lot of wealth, but her family was really awesome, and we were both kinda weird and outgoing, so we become good friends very fast. Her family owned a farm that had a children's summer camp, hi-ho, and we went to it a couple of times. She had one of her birthday parties there. I remember her kissing our friend John under a trampoline. We talked about it for way too long. We hung out fairly often until she moved to Nick a year and a half after we met. We started taking acting classes together in 8th grade at a local theater here in town, Walden Theater. It's funny because on our first day, we had no idea we were both taking the class. I walked into the first one, and there she was. We were both so excited to have a friend. We were in the first level of the theater, but after a couple weeks, both moved to the intermediate class. We were the oldest people in the class, so that's why they moved us up so fast. We carpooled together to Walden Theater every Tuesday and Thursday for acting class. I would ride the bus home with her. Her mom would take us to class, then my mom would pick us up and take her home. She was a natural at acting, I'll tell you that. I was still somewhat shy, but she could pretty much be given any character, and even though she was 14, you'd believe it. She always talked about how she had a photographic memory, and that's how she was able to remember lines so easily. And she did. It was insane. I have read where she said she's had no prior acting, but this isn't true. I'm not sure if she said this for a part of her look, or maybe she considered it informal, but we definitely took acting classes our entire 8th grade year. I will say, what you see with her is what you get. She was always very quirky, kinda weird, which was funny because she was so preppy presenting, but really wasn't like that. She was very loud, made her presence known. It's been bizarre seeing her in interviews because she acts the exact same. I remember she moved to Nick to pursue modeling between 8th and 9th grade. It worked because soon after she was in a commercial for Burger King and a couple of MTV's My Sweet 16 commercials as well. She was doing online classes for our high school, Ballard High School, and came to visit one time in 9th grade and another in 10th grade. I squealed when I saw her. I genuinely missed her. I had no idea she was about to become one of the most famous actresses of our generation. I always hear she comes to town for holidays, but at this point I have no idea how to contact her. She had a private Facebook for a while, assuming it was really her. For a time, I had a few fake accounts for her request to be my Facebook friend, along with a lot of people we went to school with. The last time we spoke was for my 21st day. I'm 29 now, but I would love to catch up with her. I can't help but wonder if she remembers me. I still have her yearbook photo she signed hanging up in my room, our yearbooks, and a couple photos from a disposable camera. I was at school with Liam Hemsworth. He was a few years below me, in my sister's year. Really nice guy. He was madly in love with his girlfriend and amp. Even though he had the opportunity to cheat, he was super loyal to her. Not the brightest kid around though. As far as I know, he hasn't changed. I used to go fishing at the Hawthorne Creek with Chris Hansen when we were teenagers. He used to be such a friendly and easygoing dude. We would drink beers and shoot the shit about girls and school and stuff. He would always share his catch with me too. As things go, we drafted apart after high school. I randomly ran into him again just a few years ago when I was visiting this girl's house for a date. I had been chatting with her online for a bit, and had set up a movie night for just the two of us, so imagine my surprise when my old fishing buddy was there. He came into the kitchen while I was waiting for her to get the DVD. I had told her she needed to watch Roadhouse, because that movie rocks. It had been a long time since we had seen each other, but he recognized me. Unfortunately, instead of a friendly "hey, long time no see buddy," he was fairly rude, and acted like a huge jerk. Kept asking me all these personal questions. I guess the fame and ego really went to his head, because he had a camera crew following him around too. Talk about narcissistic. Eminem was seriously a crazy cool dude who was just all about trying to get his music out there. A neighbor of mine was a DJ and he would come over often. Back then I remember hearing his early stuff and I could dig it because I primarily listened to a lot of local rappers and helped produce music. He would dye his hair pink back then before the blonde. He celebrated his birthday one year, I think 25 or 26, at a local bar and we all came out, drinking like fish all night. I remember it because my buddy and I had to call his GF to drive us back to his place to crash. I stopped producing music and went on to different things and didn't follow him until he made it big with the Slim Shady album. Of course now it's very public how his life has taken many ups and downs since like 20 something years ago. But I will always remember how cool as shit he was, and how he was always complimented all music he heard. My friend has always said his mom dated Robert Downey Jr. Which I would always call bullshit on. But when my friend's brother became an Eagle Scout they threw this huge party and he got this cinched picture with a long-ass card from Robert Downey Jr. Of course it could all be fabricated by his mom, but that would be a weird thing to lie about. Basically the story goes she dated him when he was addicted to heroin and he eventually dumped him cause he wouldn't clean up his act. IDK if this counts. But Tekashi and Trippie Red tried to sneak into one of my friend's loft parties in Brooklyn to take picture shots on the roof. They were young and apologetic and hella sorry for trying to name drop and were about to catch a mollywop till Tekashi was like, yo, I'm sorry, my bad. Those personas did not match what's seen now, so it's funny seeing them now. My high school art teacher was from Jamaica. She knew Bob Marley. He was friends with her older brother and used to come around to their house. Her mum didn't like him, said he was a bad influence on her brother and always smelt of weed up. So I guess he didn't change a whole lot. My friends and I were little baby stoners back then and thought it was the coolest thing ever. My mum went to school with Heath Ledger. Or, a school close to his. Boarding schools, man. IDK. I just know that she saw him in school relatively often. Apparently he was a big dig in high school. I feel bad saying that about a dead man, but my mum says it's true. Apparently he was like those exaggerated jock bully guys in movies and TV shows. He walked into a room with his lackeys behind him and just commanded the space. At some school dance or something, he was in the middle of the room doing his thing and literally everyone else was lined up against the walls because they didn't wanna get in his way. He went to this prestigious boarding school. Everyone knew that his parents were rich, but he dressed all grunge and tried to act like a troubled kid living in poverty, which is ironic. BCI went to school with troubled kids living in poverty and they all pretended to be super rich and popular like he was. He was apparently really rude. He pushed people around and pretty much was only ever nice to people in order to manipulate them. I'm sure my mum has more to say about him. She ranted about him for a couple hours the other day. She says that he could have got better and nicer as he got older. TBHIDK what the general public opinion of him is, or really anything about him. So IDK if he actually did get any nicer. All I know is what my mum has told me, but she knew him as that over-exaggerated bully character. My ex-boyfriend was friends with Bill and Melinda Gates. He met them back in the mid-90s non-profit philanthropy scene. My ex always had the sweetest stories about them. Like they are genuinely good people. We were invited to Melinda's 50th birthday party. Ended up not being able to go and I didn't end up meeting them myself, but I met a lot of Bill's first employees. They were just lovely people. Had lots of fascinating stories from when Microsoft first started, and they all lived in nice, big houses. Fun fact, Bill actually goes by the name of Trey with family and friends. Bill is his birth and public name.